So, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the next class of Perek Mem Aleph, which, as we mentioned a few times, it is a lengthier class. And we're holding on page Nun Ches, which is 114. On the right side would be 114. It's to the left of that 114, which is 58. But again, you see on the left side, the original text is Nun Ches. You can see it as well on the corresponding English text. And we're holding Aval Yichud Nafshe V'Skalulu S'Beir Hashem. So it's, instead of taking the time to elaborate or to just try to see the flow once again, how do we get to the Aval Yichud Nafshe? It's recommended to see the previous classes in general and more specific on this chapter, and even more specific than that, the last two classes, which deal with the L'Shem Yichud Kutra B'Richu Shchinti, the unity of the two energies of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which we took a time to explain the Yid when he performs his mitzvah, even the dimension of the Neshama, which is part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which perhaps one would suggest that's more the Kutra B'Richu energy, but no, it's more, at this juncture, as the Neshama vested in the body, it's more associated with the Shechina energy, and when the Yid performs Torah mitzvahs, he fuses the two energies of Kutra B'Richu and Shechinte together, which is the objective of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and this is the reason for creation ultimately, which is synonymous with the message of Nisav HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'Yisrael Dira B'Tachteinu. Hashem desired a dwelling place in this very physical world, which, as we explained, the connection, the world which is associated with the Shechina, the Yid serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, associated with the Shechina. Kutra B'Richu is the Torah. The Kutra B'Richu energy is invested in the Torah. This is what Torah is. Anan Nafshi Ksavis Yahavis. Hashem invested His core essence in Torah, and that remains, even the way Torah was given down here in this world, it remains aligned with the transcendent energy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Ein Sof of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Kutra B'Richu dimension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when the Yid learns Torah and does mitzvahs, he fuses the two additional to the bringing together a world which is a production of the Shechina dimension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and introducing it to the Kutra B'Richu energy, and the Yid himself, which serves HaKadosh Baruch Hu. At this point, even from the perspective of his neshama, it's associated with the Shechina, but when he learns Torah and he does mitzvahs, he brings the two energies together. And this is meant to be as well the focus of the Yid in his service to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I say as well because we mentioned the other day, there was a bit of a shift of the Alter Rebbe. Again, instead of elaborating, taking much time in today's class, we want to go further. It's recommended that to see the previous classes on it's posted already on the TanyaOnline.com website. I add many times, or try to add it even as every class, as we have always newcomers, that you can follow the class with the text. It doesn't interfere in the movement of the screen. There's a separate scroll bar that you can follow the class with the text as well. There's all the classes on a separate scroll bar on the left side of the screen that you could put up on the center as well by clicking on it and following the class in the same manner. Again, there's no interference by moving the text. In other words, go following along with the text as you follow along with the class. And the very last two classes we elaborated on the kind of change and a bit of a shift of the Alter Rebbe from the Ach Omnam. Before that, it was about the individual relationship the Yid has of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as much as it was about his submission to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it's about, in the end of the day, about the person himself, his or her submission to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In the end of the day is, I'm in the center of the arena, and I am accepting upon myself the Oil Machal Shemayim, the yoke of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the fear, the reverence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as a king. It's a Melech Malchei Amlochim, the king of all kings. The message of Ini Hashem Nitzav, a love, Hashem is standing over you as an individual, and he makes a different Beichin Kleis of a lady. He examines heart and the intestines of the person to see if how genuine his service is, and it makes a difference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So true, it's about my submission to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it's about me submitting myself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm the subject, I'm the servant who is serving my master and so on. As opposed to the Ach Omrim, the Alter Rebbe says, no, it's important to look at the bigger picture. What is in it for Hashem? And what does Hashem gain? And in the end of the day, why did Hashem create the entire world? What was Hashem's plan within creation? And ultimately giving us the Torah, which the Torah brings about the ability for Hashem's master plan to be realized. And this is all really packaged in the words L'shem yichud kudshu b'richu shchinta, which we say before we do a mitzvah, before we learn Torah. You mentioned there's the customs of those who rather do it all, say it before every single mitzvah, before they sit down to learn Torah. But we say it at the beginning of the day because it's meant to include all the learning Torah in our prayers and in doing mitzvahs, because this is what Torah mitzvah is all about, for the sake of the fusion of the two energies, the Kudshu B'richu and the Shechinta together. And this is the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As Alter Rebbe again explained this, put that in the context of how this is embedded in every single Yid. It's part of, rather, it's part and parcel of every single Yid to be excited one way or another of being able to bring this delight to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Or in other words, not so much about the focus on himself, but to focus on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tanug Borei. It's the pleasure, it's the delight of the Creator. That's what's supposed to be in the front and center of our focus, our expression and executing of Hashem's, in other words, our Aveda, our service to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so in a sense, it's not so much about us even of submitting ourselves, but more than that, it's about focusing solely on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And again, you can see this, we took quite some time in the last two classes, which again, even the last class is all posted on the website, again, the tanyaonline.com website. But Alter Rebbe does conclude or rather the message of the previous class, that this is a very unique service, that a person should have this on a continuous basis on his mind, that it's not about me at all, it's about the delight of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my contribution to this implementation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's covet, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's desire to have this world a dwelling place for him, which is again tantamount to the message of the Yichud Kudshu B'richu Shechintei. And that should be in the front and center of my whole Avodas Hashem. It's a unique type of Avodah. As Alter Rebbe explained, it's like a unique child which has this enormous love to his parents, and he's ready to expire just for the well-being of his parents, without any calculation. He doesn't bring any cheshbonot, any calculation into the equation. Their age, his age, family, nothing. He just loves them so much, and so he passionately in love with loves his parents. So therefore, he is ready to focus only on them. Again, as we compare it to the Nimshul, that it's only about them. It's not about himself. And therefore, he's ready to compromise his own life and his own well-being for his parents. And this is similar to that type of love. The Rebbe says, it's enormous love from a Yid to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is unique in the end of the day. That this is to have a constant basis, to be passionate with that love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It is indeed very unique. It's indeed very unique. So, if it's so unique, could it be demanded from every single Yid to have that love expressed on a constant basis? And the answer the Alter Rebbe gives, in other words, he should constantly be focused on the Tainug Bayrei, that it's not about himself, it's about, again, his particular contribution to Hashem's delight, to Hashem's plan and master plan of creation. So the Alter Rebbe says, don't think it's so foreign, don't think it's something which is an abstract type of Avodah, because in essence, this is really part and parcel of who you are. You have this innate inclination to be part of this experience, or to want this Yichud Kudshu B'richu Shechintei, to want this fusion of these two energies, which is again synonymous with the Nis'ava Kodesh Baruch Hu L'Isleidir B'Tachteinu, to bring about Hashem's delight. This is who the Yid is. The Yid is a Chelik of Kami Mamash. A Yid is part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, hence he has an inherent love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He has an innate love to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And everything what is Hashem's desire, ultimately, is the Yid's desire. Because, again, we have part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu within us. If Hashem desires for the Yid to fast in Yom Kippur, we gravitate to that experience. We gravitate to eat matzah on the 14th night of Nisan. We gravitate to have a mezuzah on a dort. We are inclined because this is what Hashem wants. So hence, this is what we want. This is the innate ratzon of the Yid, the inherent love the Yid has to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because again, he is part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He is, the makeup of the Yid is that he is, and he possesses that the neshama. He possesses within himself a part of God. Hence, he is driven to do whatever Hashem wants. And therefore, the Alter Rebbe says that this Yichud Kutcher B'Richu Shchinte, it's not just an overall noble idea. This is part of the Ratzon HaElyon. It's part of Hashem's desire. And therefore, we're naturally and innately inclined to do this Ratzon, to be involved in this Ratzon, to be passionate of this Ratzon, of this interest, of the fusion of this Kutcher B'Richu Shchinte, again, Hashem's plan within creation. So if you don't find that you're passionate about it, there's the starting point, which is a very great starting point. As we explained last week, this is one of the chidushim of the Alter Rebbe. In the entire Tanya, it's not we have to gain and achieve something, grab from here, from there, years Hashem, Avos Hashem, the multiple levels of fear of Hashem, the multiple levels of loving Hashem, and to try to inculcate something from the outside inwards, to incorporate it into my system. Quite to the contrary, the Alter Rebbe says, this is who you are. This is part and parcel of your system. You got to just extract it from a state of potential to a state of actuality, to make it real, from a state of concealment to a state of manifestation. And the Alter Rebbe says, first of all, you should know this is who you are, and therefore you have the ability to truly, overtly become passionate about it. Not only exist on innate and inherent levels, but overtly become passionate about it, at least periodically, and then it can be your constant motivation in your service to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. About that. So we have this unique avodah on one hand, very unique service, and then the Alter Rebbe says, well, this is really part and parcel of who you are, and therefore it's easy to extract, but we still need, or it's not completely, it's not a foreign idea to you, therefore easy or not, in the end of the day you can extract it. But when you do, it's ultimately very special that this person has in the front and center of his entire Avodas Hashem, that it's not about me, it's about the delight of my Creator, about His objective, about His goals, and I'm just being part of that implementation of Hashem's desire. Again, in this case, would be Yichud Kutcher B'Richu Shchinte. And to be passionate about it, it still remains a unique Avodah. The Alter Rebbe contrasts this in this beginning of this week's class. But in the overall, a Yid, to have that interest in that his own nefesh to be united with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and his own nefesh to be absorbed in the light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, these lachadim to be one, everybody wants that. On a minimal, simple level, every Yid wants to be constantly connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He never wants to be disconnected from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Take a child. With even a child which is not he doesn't even appreciate adequately his parents, his father, his mother, but the only thing he wants to know, he wants to be secure that they're in close proximity, or they're holding his hand, or at least figuratively, meaning to say that they're always accessible to him. He knows where they are. He knows that they know where he or she is all the time. Then when they go, for example, out to the public, a child is in an amusement park, as an example, the worst nightmare is if he turns around and he doesn't see his parents who brought him to the amusement park, or a family member, but let's both focus on his parents. So till a moment ago he wanted this ride and that game, but the moment he doesn't see his parents, he's not interested in anything. He just wants to see his parents. If someone tells him, your parents just turned the corner, he's just running with all his might, with all his soul, with all his heart, just to see and be connected to his parents. And that's regular, that's normal, and that's what the Alter Rebbe says. This what we spoke about in the previous class, in the earlier part, Yes, it is a unique a service that a person should be passionate of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Yichud Kudsha B'richu Shchinte. And again, I'm saying this brief because we elaborated on the whole idea very clearly. What is this Yichud Kudsha B'richu Shchinte? A little bit in the beginning over here, we just started with it, but we took a lot of time to expound on that message. But the simple interest or the simple desire of the Yid to have that minimal connection, or the connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is basic. It is the chafetza, in other words, it's the deep desire of the Yid, without looking into different levels, without speaking about the what's behind the Hashem's purpose within creation, the energy of Seviv Kolalmin, Malak Kolalmin, Kuchabrichu, which is the Kuchabrichu and the Shechinta associated with Memala Kolalmin, the synthesis of both of them, the coming together, the harmony of both of them. Before all that, a Yid never wants to sever his relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He never wants to disconnect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He always wants to be one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, before you enter into the purpose, which is also, in the end of the day, yichud of the person with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, this is the same idea of Kuch B'richu Shchinte. He says, but before you go there, or he says, in other words, together with that, or even before you go into the deeper meaning of Yichud Kucha B'richu Shchinte, or the deeper meaning of the service of a Yid to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which brings about rather the Yichud Kucha B'richu Shchinte, one thing is clear. A Yid always wants one type of Yichud. He wants to be united with HaKadosh Baruch Hu at all times. And that's minimal, that's standard, that's default by a Yid. And then that's what he says. The Yichud Nafshei, the oneness of his soul, to be one with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Chavitz Kol Adam Yisrael, and Be'emes Lamite, truly, genuinely, L'gamri, B'chol Lev, completely, on absolute terms, with all heart, B'chol Nefesh, with all soul, Mi'avat Tivus M'seret B'lev Kol Yisrael, because of the innate, natural nature and love, which is hidden in the heart of every single Yid, L'dafka B'Hashem, to cleave and to adhere to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'leili Parid, and not to be separated, at least nichras v'nivdal chas v'shalom, to be cut away, and again nivdal would be separated from the yichudei v'achdus Yisbarach, from the unity and the oneness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'shum ofen, in no form or fashion, avil b'mesiras nefesh, even for self-sacrifice. We say self-sacrifice in this mamash. The Rebbe says mamash means to say the Yid by nature has not only an interest to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it means that he has to sacrifice self, which again, self-sacrifice literally means sacrificing self. Let's go back to the mashal we gave the child a minute ago. He wanted so much which he felt would contribute to his self, to his or herself. I want that ride. I have pleasure of going on that venture, that roller coaster, whatever it is, and I want that game, because this is all the child feels, which is going to contribute to his or her own self, his or her own pleasures. The moment they don't see their parents, they're ready to drop all that what a minute ago seemed to contribute to their self, so they're leaving all their self behind in order to run and to attach and to cleave to the hands of the father or mother. So the similar expression really inherently exists within every single Yid. The person's self, the Yid is a combination of neshama and guf, or nefesh elikis, the godly soul, the nefesh bahamis, the animal soul, which is the nefesh chayunis, the energy which vivifies and vitalizes his body. So it's associated, so there is the body inclinations and the bodily desires, and the nefesh bahamis is animalistic desires. Again, as we mentioned, not necessarily they're bad, but this is where the nefesh bahamis, whatever contributes to its comfort, to its self gratification. Then when the person wakes up in the morning, instead of sitting down to a lavish breakfast, he goes to shul, he learns a bit of Torah, and then he learns a bit of Chassidus as an example, and he goes to daven. So he's removing himself in order to connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because he knows Hashem is in the words of prayer, Hashem is in the words of his Torah. and Hashem is in the mitzvahs, and mitzvahs are Hashem's limbs, so he's embracing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what is he ready to give up? Really everything. Instead of starting his day with a breakfast, he puts on tefillin, puts on a talis, goes to learn, goes to daven, and from there he goes again to learn. Mi beis HaKnesses lebeis HaMedrash. And the entire package of Torah mitzvahs, if you will, it's somewhat of an expression of Mesirus Nefesh. Not to this is mamish, it's self-sacrifice, because you're sacrificing self in order to be constantly connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's minimal, that's innately ingrained, and this is part of the Yid, this is part of who he is, because he has part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu within him, similar to a child. The reason why a child gravitates to his parents, because he's a production, he's part and parcel of his parents. And so to the Yid is part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore he's ready to, he never wants to sever that relationship, never wants to disconnect himself from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He always wants to be connected, adhere to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is only one way. Hashem placed himself. He's not anywhere else. He's in the Gemara we learn, in the Mishnayos that we learn, in the Chassidus we learn, in the Shulchan Aruch we learn, in the mitzvahs which we do, in the words of prayer, the energy of the prayer that we pray. So we're doing that, and we're sacrificing self around the 24 hours, and for a long time, for 80, 90, 100 years, 120 years, Yimei Ha'etz, Yimei Ami, and beyond, as we enter into Yimei Mashiach, it's on a constant basis. Can't make much sense out of it that a Yid puts on tefillin every day of his life. He puts on a talis every day of his life. He davens every day. He davens 3 times a day. He does always mitzvahs. Every year he has a little of a nesser. Every year he has a sukkah and a shofar. He's living in the same world that anybody else is living. Any part of creation exists, and even similar to the overall human being, which is which is similar to the human dimension even of the Yid. Eats and sleeps and needs all that, and is dependent on all that, and does that as well. But nonetheless, on a constant basis, he's bending self in order to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not that I've said that's minimal. That's who the Yid is. Before you get involved in the deeper dimension of the Yid's performance of Torah mitzvahs, which is the Yichud Kodesh B'Richu Shechita dimension, which the Alter Rebbe discussed in the previous class, in the previous part. And he says this is similar to the Yid's experiencing the Yid's experience as the neshama is invested in body is similar to the way the neshama is divested of body after 120. The Alter Rebbe says Malay Shivim Shana, like when the soul emerges from the body after 70 years. He says, again, based on a pasuk, Shivim Shana, maybe go to Shmeinim Shana, but obviously we wish each other 120, and as we mentioned, more than that, Yimei Ha'etz, Yimei Ami, 180, and as we go into Yimei Mashiach, it's only about life to the contrary. All the neshamas are going to come back to this world, because and there's the reason again is because here is where this is the world where Hashem created everything, including the Gan Eden, ultimately that this world to be created, and Hashem should have that satisfaction of this world becoming a domain and abode for him. So, but the Alter Rebbe uses the terminology of the pasuk Shivim Shana, that after 70 years, and after the person leaves this world, you're talking about self-sacrifice. There, it's very evident that the neshama doesn't think about anything associated with a similar self that it invested when it was in this world, in the Selam Hazeh. As there, the neshama doesn't need to sleep, doesn't need to eat, doesn't have an interest in eating, doesn't have an interest in sleeping, because this is all desires and interests of a neshama which is invested in body, and therefore the bodily has its desires, and Nefesh Habahamis has its desires.